Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. The Knicks had a chance to close this series out, but they lose 112 to 106 to the Sixers behind some Maxey magic. We're getting into it next on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit that auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode, even on days of crushing losses like this. So you have something to listen to stop being so sad. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully we're not too sad. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find strict.land. And he's Gavin Shaw, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. And the Knicks lose 112 to 106 in overtime to the Sixers. And Gavin, I don't want to make everyone relive it too much, but just to recap what happened at the end of the game, Tyrese Maxey comes down, gets a 4-point play with Mitchell Robinson helping a little too much on defense. Unfortunate decision by him there. He closes into Maxey's area, and Maxey sold the contact, gets the shot up, and miraculously makes it. And then the Knicks, in a situation after Josh Hart misses one of two free throws, find themselves up by 3 points with 10, 12 something seconds left on the clock. Maxey gets the inbound, brings it down the floor. Mike Breen, as usual, is on the call advocating that the Knicks foul and avoid any potential game-tying scenarios. And then, but that of course would have required then the Knicks putting themselves back on the line probably, which was probably not the preferable scenario at that point, considering that the lead had, dwindled away via free throws to that point. But Tyrese Maxey comes down and, sort of the surprise of everyone, pulls up from the logo, like from the edge of the Knicks logo on the court, and just drains a three-pointer. Jalen Brunson brings it down the floor, and Tibbs doesn't call a timeout, notably, to set up any sort of play. Then the Knicks just kind of go, all right, we got like 7 seconds. Let's get it down the floor. Let's try to win this thing. And Brunson goes up, doesn't take the best attempt that he took all game, certainly. Gets kind of tied up but not fouled, and the ball deflected and does not get a layup off. Time expires. The Knicks go to overtime. And then sort of similar vibes, except for just the Knicks started off strong and then just kind of stagnated down the stretch. Bad decision-making, some costly turnovers down the stretch. And now the Knicks find themselves up 3-2, headed back to Philly on Thursday for a game 6. Gavin, it was tough, man. It was a tough loss. Ultimately, I'm still feeling pretty good about the Knicks' chances in this series. Obviously, it's deflating to lose a game in that fashion, but once again, we saw that it basically took a Sixers player scoring almost 50 points for this to happen, for the Knicks to lose this game. Granted, Jalen Brunson also had 40 of his own, so it's not like the Knicks don't have a similar situation there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where a little numb at the moment, but trying to look on the bright side after this one.
Yeah, Knicks have a 96-90 lead with 28 seconds left. I referenced the Sixers in game 2. I think, what was it, like a 94% chance to win? Knicks had a 95.4 chance to win. So obviously everyone knows what 95% means, but you play this out 20 times, the Sixers win once. And you know what? The Knicks lost to the Mavs in like a 1 in 14,000 scenario last time. So maybe we're trending the right direction, but Tyrese Maxey is incredible with all the, I would say, deserved vitriol we've had towards Joel Embiid. We haven't had a lot of space left to acknowledge it or say anything positive about the Sixers, but he's extraordinary. Seems like a really good dude, does it the right way. Really freaking sucks that the Knicks were at the expense of it tonight. Mitchell Robinson, I just saw the quote from him after the game on the late foul. I'll take it like a man. I effed up. I mean, word I can't say. Got to be better next game. And then asked what he could do better. He said, "Don't foul his butt," but he didn't say butt. Yeah, so he can't foul in that situation. It's like the one thing you can't do up by 6. 4-point play. Hart goes 1 for 2 at the line. This is a little Monday morning quarterbacking, and I know it is very challenging to do because the Sixers were trying to trap him and not foul him, but I hate that Brunson had to give the ball in that situation. It's another situation where Bojan Bogdanovic, who we should say is officially out for the season, if anyone missed it, with that ankle injury he suffered in Game 4. Great time to have someone like him on the floor. He couldn't be on the floor in that situation. Brunson gives up the basketball. I wish Brunson had not given up the basketball in that situation. Hart goes 1 for 2 at the line. I know I'm torturing people doing this again. But yeah, I think you just have to foul in that situation. And again, that's Monday morning quarterbacking. I'm not always an absolutist there, but do you want to bet on Maxey missing a really tough 3, or do you want to bet on your ability to get a rebound and make 2 free throws, and then they have to make another 3? Like, I'm not saying it's obvious, but I honestly, just reading in maybe a little bit too much into Tibbs's quotes after the game, I kind of think he might have told the Knicks to foul because he said we could have, but we'll leave it at that when asked about the possibility of fouling Maxey before he hit the game tying 3. I kind of think Tibbs said to foul. Maybe he said only foul with like 8 seconds or less on the clock, and Maxey just shot it too early. I saw some people on Twitter getting mad for Embiid, or not at Embiid, at Mitchell Robinson not being at the level on that play. It honestly, that doesn't bother me so much. If you're Mitchell Robinson, you're conditioned to never go up that high on Tyrese Maxey outside of Steph Curry and maybe Dame Lillard. You're not supposed to be that high on any player in the league. Just a lot of muscle memory, a lot of fatigue in that spot. You get that high up, it's possible Embiid just pops and gets a wide open 3. So I'll leave it at that, Alex. Like I thought there were obviously mistakes down the stretch. And Anunoby also missed a free throw inside the final minute that would have sealed it for the Knicks. So it was a whole bunch of stuff. Didn't quite have enough in overtime. Brunson was amazing. Also took some tough shots. And my concerns about the Knicks late game offense, for the most part, reared their ugly head again, with the exception of Deuce hitting what should have been the game ender, popping to the foul line. He was incredible this entire night. That should have been it. It wasn't. It sucks. And now my biggest concern is just, do the Knicks have enough in the tank? I know Philly also shouldn't have a lot of gas on paper, but going back home, they're gonna have the momentum. I'm a little worried. I know you're not as concerned about the rest of the series.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what home court advantage does for them. Didn't do much for them in the last game they played there. So, if Knicks fans are willing to travel on a Thursday night and go pack out the Wells Fargo Center again, then, maybe that becomes less of an advantage and more of an opportunity for the Knicks to, potentially take one at a home away from home. But yeah, I mean, so, I mean, the numbers are depressing, but if you want to look at them and take bright sides away from this, like, they wound up going to overtime and only losing by 4 in a game where they shot 16 of 24 from the free throw line and 10 of 36 from 3, which that 10 of 36 from 3 is pretty abnormal compared to the rest of the series. Like, this is easily their worst shooting game of the entire series. Like, Brunson goes 4 of 11. OG goes 2 of 5. Other than that, you've got like Josh Hart going 1 of 6. Dante, who like really needs to figure some stuff out going forward in this series, and then hopefully for the rest of the playoffs, if the Knicks manage to make it out of the series. Like, he's at 1 of 7 in this game. Deuce shoots 2 of 7 from 3. Granted, came up big in the clutch, which the Knicks really needed. I don't know. I mean, this is maybe something for tomorrow's episode for previewing the next game, but I kind of feel like the Knicks at this point need to entertain the idea of going with a different starting lineup, maybe bringing Dante off the bench again, or at least being willing to get him out of there quicker if he keeps starting games like he has been, because he's just been negative impact. And get Deuce McBride in there quicker, who's forcing turnovers, who, I mean, I thought Dante had a decent stretch on Maxey in like the third quarter. I still think the Deuce is the better defender that you want to have on him consistently, and a guy that's going to influence the game on other players not named Maxey more often. So, I just think you want to get Deuce in there quicker. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to think about in that regard, and also some late game execution errors to work on, which we could talk about in just a second. So we're going to talk about execution errors, talk about some of the stuff that was good in this game and that almost won the Knicks the game, of course. And then, to close out with maybe some early thoughts going into Game 6 when we get back.
Moms are gifts, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more delivered right to her door. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Get thoughtful gifts she deserves with the convenience you need. Choose same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead for when flowers and gifts should arrive at her door. With DoorDash, you can pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. It's incredible. It's the option I am going with this Mother's Day for my mom because it makes it just super easy. And there's another bonus. You can get a Mother's Day gift as unique as she is with DoorDash. All you have to do is use code LOCKEDONNBA. Get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply.
And today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel, and it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So if you want to talk about a spread, the Knicks currently are 3.5-point underdogs in the next game versus the Sixers. So I don't know. Call me a homer, call me overly optimistic, but I would take that bet all day because I believe the stat was pulled out by Rebecca Harlow in the post game talking to Josh Hart. I think the entire point differential for this whole series is 3 points right now between all these games thus far. So it's been a very tight series, 3.5-point spread. Even if the Knicks don't win, feels like a pretty safe bet to me. So, but I think they're going to win. Come on. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Gavin, we're back in to get into more of this game. So I want to kind of talk about, some execution stuff, but also like some strategy stuff from this game that sort of confused me. Um, I think, we're going to give OG some praise in a minute for some good stuff that he did. Obviously, we're going to give Brunson some praise, whatever. But one thing that really baffled me from a Tibbs perspective in this game was not going really at all to the strategy that basically won them the last game, which was the OG on Joel Embiid strategy, possibly throwing Precious Chu out there for a few minutes. Like there were, I won't say that this was a bad game for either Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson. Like I actually think Mitch did a really good job again in one-on-one defense with Joel Embiid and was part of what started making him really uncomfortable down the stretch of this game, especially like in the third quarter. I thought Mitch did a good job there. I thought Hartenstein did admirable as well. I thought he was fine, but like in general, I just kind of think they needed to do something a little different and hopefully down the stretch get some more switchability on the floor. Like I just think it honestly had more to do with Maxey at that point than it did Embiid, but like getting that switchy lineup out there and running those really tight and crisp rotations, like that was what made life difficult on every Sixer down the stretch of the last game and why they ended up winning the game. And instead you kind of just had like the same looks over and over every single time down the floor, the same thing being drawn up from the Sixers perspective, which was just Maxey, Embiid, pick and roll, maybe toss the ball to Embiid for a minute, let him, draw the defense for a second, kick it back to Maxey. He attacks the defense who kept trying to double Joel Embiid as well, which just didn't seem necessary at a certain point. Like he was ice freaking cold. And, other than like a kind of fortuitous putback at one point late in the game, really didn't have much of an impact on the game. So I didn't totally understand the defensive strategy. And I don't know, like, was it baffling to you as well, seeing so many of the things that worked and won them game 4 just kind of thrown to the wayside just by virtue of having Mitch back this game?
Yeah, You know, it's funny. I maybe just caught up in everything and the fact that they had this game won, but I hadn't thought about it. But I think you're absolutely right, and I think you nailed it in saying that more about Maxey than Embiid, right? Like having Precious in as a switchy big, and it's not look Maxey did bulk of his damage in this game from three, but he did and in transition, but he did get a share of layups as well. So it would have been interesting, and it just worked so well down the stretch. It would have been intriguing for them to go to it for a few minutes. I think if I'm to get into Tibbs's head, the reason they didn't is because they were so effective in slowing down Embiid. Got off to a 1-for-8 start in this game, finished 7 for 19, had 9 turnovers. I mean, that to me, like if you want to zoom in on the reason why it wasn't happening, was that Embiid was basically trying to hand the Knicks this win down the stretch, throwing it away over and over again. He had a bunch of good connections with Maxey, which is how he got to 10 assists in this game, but they were using him so often as a playmaking hub, and just as often as he was hitting Maxey backdoor on a really nice pass, he was throwing the ball away, and a lot of it was because of really well-timed doubles. I mean, Hart in particular had like probably the best defensive play of the day for the Knicks, where he doubled Embiid zipped it out to Maxey drove, and Hart was able to recover to swat the shot, and it felt like the Knicks, even though it wasn't the same personnel grouping as with Precious in there, they were able to replicate some of that playing on a string. If I'm going to get into Tibbs' head again, I think the other reason he might not have gone with that is because OG Anunoby played 50 minutes in this one, and guarding Embiid, he was incredible, but I think it does take his legs out a little bit, and maybe you don't get the two or the did he have two? Did he have one like late game steal? I mean, that late game poke away that should have led to a breakout transition dunk to win the game. Underrated moment that Maxey was able to just snag a piece of his jersey. Should have been a transition take foul. Wasn't. And because of it, OG went to the line, went 1 for 2, point off the board. That could have been it. But to answer your question, I would have liked to have seen it. It's not killing me that they didn't go to it. Would be a good wrinkle to mix in game 6, maybe when the Sixers are a little bit less prepared for it, but we know Tibbs is such a creature of habit, and I don't think he's going to go away with having a true 7-footer on the floor if he can avoid it. And in his defense, Mitch was excellent defensively until the end. 5 stocks in this game. Hartenstein was really good, avoided foul trouble. So that was great. I think what on top of the late game execution and the slow start, what lost the Knicks this game was offensive rebounding. We mentioned it, 40% for the series coming into this one. Tonight they got 6 offensive rebounds on 46 missed shots. So they go from a 40% offensive rebounding rate to a 13% offensive rebounding rate. The Sixers get 12. Not that they converted on all of them, but that just really hurt the Knicks offense in this game.
Yeah, and I'm honestly shocked looking at the box score to see Josh Hart was 0 offensive rebounds. That was such a staple of the last game. And I guess we didn't like highlight that enough after the last game because we had people like in our YouTube comments being like, how dare you say that Josh Hart was not amazing in this game? Like, he's been great. I mean, the rebounding has been super key for this whole series, and I think that he was a little better neutralized. I mean, it seemed like for most of this game, like some of the older role players for the Sixers definitely cared much more about potentially winning this game. And I think that like the effort was made a little more to like, get those boards by those guys. And that ultimately kept them afloat long enough to, have a Tyrese Maxey, go ahead and finish the game off for them. But I mean, if you want to give Joel Embiid credit for one thing in this game, it's he definitely used his size properly for some of those offensive boards, managed to get 5 of them, which, is tough, from a Knicks fan perspective after he so resoundingly failed in that category in game 4. And I think only got one rebound in the entire fourth quarter, which is just kind of unacceptable for a guy that size. Like, he definitely made his presence felt in that way. And like I said, did have it was sort of a fortuitous rebound, but a big make late, which was, another one that sort of, you just look back when you lose a game like this, where it came down to every millimeter down the stretch. Like, you just go back and you can find any one of a number of plays that's like, oh man, if only that went different, like the Knicks would have been up by 1 more point, 2 more points, whatever.
Josh Hart missing that first quarter bank buzzer beater by like a second. I'm weirdly thinking about that, but I pulled out like 6 of those and was driving my roommate crazy telling about them, and then I was like, well, wait, you could say it on any single play. So I mean,
yeah, and you could say that about any game, like any game that comes down to a possession or two, you can always say that. So it's tough, and it's particularly tough because it overshadowed again a really brilliant offensive game by Jalen Brunson, which was marred a little bit by a tough overtime period. But we want to talk about that a little bit, get into some of the positive contributions of OG Anunoby, Deuce McBride, guys like that. So we'll do that in just a second here.
But first, we want to tell you about our newest friends here at Locked On. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's so much more good stuff to get into Monopoly Go. You can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Hopefully, some of your friends are Sixers fans and you can taunt them. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges, a ton including their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Let's talk Jalen Brunson because it was a big night for him. I hear you on overtime. Few really tough forced threes over Batum. I didn't love the shot selection. The throwaway, I'm sure you and probably 90% of the people watching had the same reaction as I did. It just reminded me of him missing Julius Randle, trying to find him on a cut in Game 6 against Miami. Like I flash back right to that moment, and I think Brunson flashed back right to that moment because there's an article on, I think it was ESPN, about how he spent the whole summer thinking about that and replaying that and figuring out ways not to be there. He also had 8 points in overtime, and had 2 massive threes. Wait, did he have 9 in over? So
9 points.
He had 9 points in OT with that free throw, and he missed a free throw like that would have put the Knicks up 1. So circling back on my point about keeping the ball in his hands, like he wasn't faultless at all. He had all 9 points for the Knicks in overtime, though. The point is, I think that they're putting too much on him. Like this is just not sustainable. They had that stat early in the game. What was it? 85 points and 25 assists, like first player in NBA history to do that over a 2-game stretch. Now he's the first player presumably to have 125 and 31 in a 3-game stretch. Like he's been incredible. They are overtaxing him at this point. I'll get into some of the best moments. Like had that ridiculous pass through a double team to hit Hart backdoor, like big burst at the start of the second, including a bully ball drive on Payne. It was nice to see him get a spot up 3. Shout out to Deuce McBride for setting that up. And then late in this game, I thought it was huge that Tibbs sat him for 2 minutes in like 2 minutes into the fourth. Great decision because he looked a little bit gassed, like he'd airballed a 3, then had a jumper short, came back in, 3-point play on Harris, zoomed by Embiid for a layup, pull up to make it 93-88. And over and over again in this game, like just made the right decision out of double teams. And I don't know if you have some final thoughts on Brunson, but we can move on to Josh Hart, because I thought before the end of this game, Hart was incredible where Jalen was over and over again doubled, and Hart just kept popping up to the free throw line and making the right pass, including probably the play of the game where he touched it to Mitch for the dunk on a one-timer. And then it was Deuce also doing that, like a 1-point short rolling for a 3. And then getting free over the middle, bailing out Brunson when he was doubled for what should have been the game-winning shot to make it 96-90. So a lot to talk about there. I can't put any of this on Jalen Brunson. I know you're not either, but for anyone who is, like, just look at reality. Like, the guy needs some freaking help for the Knicks to pull this out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I wish that the turnover hadn't happened or whatever, but he was obviously gassed at that point. And I mean, the Knicks aren't even in contention to win this game without him, much like the Sixers wouldn't have been without Tyrese Maxey. So, like, you know, low perspective there. To anyone that's like, oh, I can't believe Brunson did this to us. It's like, well, I can't believe that he scored 40 points again.
And here's the thing: out Maxey gets some spot up threes. Jalen got 1 this entire. Like, it's all self-created, and that is different in terms of the workload.
Because like Brunson doesn't have a Joel Embiid that he can throw the ball to that just gets auto double teamed to then.
Yeah, well, his name is Julius Randle, Alex, and he's not here anymore.
Right. Yeah. But even Julius doesn't get that level of respect.
It's like a modicum of that. Like all those open threes Brunson got early, they're just gone now, and he's still doing this.
Yep, exactly. I mean, so it was a truly impressive game for him. If I had one constructive criticism, not just for him, but for like Tibbs, the whole team, it would just be like, try to get him in his offense earlier. He once again had a pretty tough start to this game, like played the whole first quarter and scored 2 points in it. And the Knicks as a whole just had a really tough first quarter. Like, I don't know, they got to find something, some wrinkle. Like, clearly they're able to find it later on in the game. It's like the second you get out of like the first quarter lately, it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, we figured it out now, we're good. And it's like, come on, like, can we figure this out just a smidge sooner? Now, is that putting Deuce McBride out there instead? I think Deuce has been offering a lot more to at least give Brunson a tilted defense to work with than DiVincenzo has. Like, DiVincenzo just seems to have basically lost the ability to dribble the ball. He's looking very like Klay Thompson-ish in that regard, where it's just like, if you ask him to dribble it more than twice, it's like, oh man, like that seems tough. And even twice it seems tough for him at the moment. Whereas Deuce has been getting the ball on the perimeter, like getting a drive going, getting 2 feet in the paint, like drawing the defense a little bit, at least sort of pulling Brunson's defender towards him a little bit, getting it back out to Brunson. Then that allows Brunson to at least then like attack off the dribble or, fake an attack off the dribble and step back for a more clean 3 than he would get if he's just trying to create it himself. They got to find some ways to get him those sort of opportunities earlier in the game, just so that he doesn't have to start off like just going 1v5 essentially to start the game, like he has been lately. So that definitely is the case. Josh Hart, though, I'm with you. Like, I thought it was a really great game for him. Other than the 3-point shooting, which I highlighted already, like that unfortunately seems to have gone back to, I don't even want to say the mean. It's like, I guess the mean is averaging out now as we had the ultra high highs of the beginning, and now we're having the ultra low lows of him not being able to hit threes again. But everything else, he did fantastic in this game, I thought, other than the missed free throw. But again, it's like, it's tough, man. Like, it's tough to blame this all on one player or one thing or whatever. It was a stacking up of things that just ultimately were too much for the Knicks to get over. But that touch pass to Mitch was definitely one of my plays of the game. Like, if not the play of the game, just such a fun look from him. He gets the ball in the air. I don't even think he touched the ground.
He didn't. It was a one-timer. Yeah.
Yeah. He had it back off his hand already up towards Mitch, who then throws down a one-handed dunk. I mean, just fantastic play there. And I was with you too. Like, I thought he was being a really good safety valve for Brunson the whole game. Like, the Sixers, once they knew what the jig was late in this game, they were throwing, I think, easily the most aggressive doubles that they've thrown at Brunson the entire series. Like, they were throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him. They had 3 guys on him at sometimes in the backcourt. But like, there was one play in particular that really stood out to me where I said, that was good by Josh. Like, he needs to do that more, which was, he got the ball and he was still roughly at about the free throw line, and then turns around and like, they didn't respect him up at all. Like, they didn't even try to throw someone out of, at him just out of courtesy. Like, and he turned around, recognized that, and just kind of took like a little dribble in and then just made a really nice, easy floater. And it's like, ultimately, he's an NBA player. Like, if you're not sending any pressure at him, he can make a floater 100 times out of 100. Like, you need to pressure guys to make them miss shots like that. So, and the floater has just gotten gradually better and better for him, I think, as the year has gone on and as these playoffs have gone on, as it's something he's going to a little more right now, more so than just like his like preferred like turnaround mid-range J of choice. So yeah, I thought that he did a really good job and worked as a really, really great bailout option for the Knicks in this game. But I'm trying to think. I mean, between Deuce McBride and OG Anunoby, I think there are some very similar things to say about their impact late in this game. Both guys had their hands on a lot of loose balls. OG in particular, before Deuce made what looked like it was going to be the dagger, OG had one of the plays that like made you really think that it was that things had swung the Knicks way and it was about to be over. Where he, taps the ball away, gets out in transition, and just throws down a huge dunk. But in addition to that, got his hand on a number of balls late. Managed 2 steals, 1 block for the entire game, but 17 points as well, 6 boards, shoots 2 of 5 from 3. So he's like one of the only somewhat dependable 3-point shooters on the team for this game. I just saw for like the second game in a row, this was another output that shows you like this guy's a game busting talent, sometimes on both ends, definitely on defense. And, a guy that is probably worth it for the Knicks to throw a pretty good bag of money at this summer.
Yeah, he was amazing for the most part. Not the best offensive game initially, and he rebounded and turned it into a pretty exceptional one. The first thing that stood out to me was we've talked about this even before the series started, but the benefit of taking him off Tyrese Maxey is you turn him into like the biggest, meanest free safety you've ever seen. And was right in the opening of the game, got a big swat and Embiid drive, which again just doesn't happen if he has to stick with Tyrese Maxey and all night. I mean, as good as Maxey was, he would have probably had 6 more points in this game if it wasn't for Anunoby's verticality. Like time and time again, beating Maxey to the rim, sliding over and looking like a prime Roy Hibbert, just going straight up and down and altering Maxey's shot. I mean, at one point, DiVincenzo's clear-cut play of the game was when he chased Maxey down for a block, but that only could happen because Anunoby slowed him down just enough by getting to the rim first. So I thought that was a big wrinkle, and the fact that Anunoby just still had the energy to do that with everything else he's being asked to do is awesome. And also like some big baskets in this game, especially down the stretch. Like it wasn't a good first half for him on offense, but like had that transition layup after both teams threw it away, back-to-back wild sequences. An ISO on Tobias Harris when the Knicks just desperately needed anyone other than Jalen to create a shot. Hit an elbow jumper with 5:44 to go. You mentioned the poke away that was to make it 91-86. Mitch poked it away from Embiid. OG, most energy in the building, coast to coast. I thought, I was sure the Knicks were going to win at that point, and then the final poke away at the end. As far as Deuce goes, like just obviously would have been nice if he made one more three and went 3 for 7 instead of 2 for 7, but you can't take anything away from him. 33 minutes, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Like it's not gravy because with all the injuries the Knicks desperately needed, but this team isn't here right now. Like it's maybe this series is probably over in 5 games in the Sixers' favor if Deuce doesn't become who he's become. And if you had asked me going into this season, like, all right, is Deuce going to be playing 33 minutes and putting up that kind of stat line against the Sixers in the playoffs? Like I would have said, all right, maybe 5% chance. And then if you told me he was going to do it every single game, I would have said 2% chance. But over and over again, the guy comes through like big drives on Maxey, got away with a few push-offs, but at one point dropping Maxey, did that foul line jumper. And those were that. And like the interception, he had to go coast to coast for the layup. Those are like 2 of the biggest plays of the entire game because Brunson's on the bench. You have to win those minutes or you don't have to win those minutes. You have to survive those minutes. And because he was so good in those minutes, making those 2 shots, the Knicks had a great chance to win this game. And I thought he was just brilliant in the 2-man game with Brunson. Already mentioned the game winner, but the short roll after a dribble handoff to Brunson, and then Brunson just hits him for a top of the key 3. It was such a weird play, but also such like a virtuoso bit of improvisation from those 2. He's great. Dante needs to be better. We can talk about that more together. I don't want to get annoyed because I'm already annoyed enough, but he's disappeared since game 2. It's really, really frustrating. And I just had a little bit more faith in him after the season he had after that 6-game stretch. And he has shrunk a little bit. He's still done good things. Again, he was amazing for that one game, but they need a little more from him. Alex, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on him, final thoughts on the bigs. Hartenstein and Mitch both did some good stuff. Both had some tough moments, but yeah, we're going to get into it more tomorrow. I know.
Yeah. So I think if I'll go back to Deuce for one moment for do like the Daily Show, your moment of zen here. Your moment of zen can be Deuce McBride is signed to this team for 3 more years for 13 million total, just over 4 million a season, essentially on a second rookie deal. And he's blossoming into the player that we're seeing right now. So sleep well knowing that tonight. And yeah, we'll be back with a preview before game 6 for you guys. And then of course a recap of game 6 and all that good stuff. So lots more good stuff to come. But until then, thank you all for listening and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.